for me, it was really important to tell a story that's not explanatory and doesn't, tell you how this is done or, how this came to be, but just rather shows it the way it is, as a given.
My guest today is Fabian Stumm, the writer, director, and star of the new film Sad Jokes. Hi, Fabian.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So as the title of your wonderful film, Sad Jokes, suggests, this film is not being confined to a single genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious, it's devastating, and it's sort of about the complex tonal elements in between those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about a filmmaker who's trying to make art about tonally complex things.
True. Yeah.
And also, the resistance that producers have to making art like that.
Yeah.
Is this something you've experienced in your own career?
Yeah, a little bit, I have to say. I did my feature debut last year. It was, surprisingly well received, which was really nice. And then when I started working on my second feature, I had a lot of nice but unwanted advice, I'd say, about people telling me what I should do now, what I should not do. And so when I wrote the scenes with the producer that you mentioned, it felt really good to take my fear and address it and turn it into art, because that was kind of my worst case scenario. That you work on a comedy and someone reads it and says, this is really not funny but sad.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my way into the whole story, and I took it from there.
And I'm sure a lot of filmmakers watching your film will feel like their anxieties have been represented.
I think so. So far, it's been kind of nice to talk to fellow filmmakers. They were like, oh, I've been there.
So at the heart of this film, very much, is a relationship between two people who are co-parenting a toddler together, a gay man and a straight woman. And I found this so refreshing to sort of see this family structure represented on film, because you don't often see that, at least in English language film and television.
Yeah.
Well, what drew you to telling this specific story?
Well, that's one of the few autobiographical elements in the film that I kind of used as sort of springboards to, create fiction, because my very close friend and I, we raised 2 kids together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're not my biological kids, but we decided when she got pregnant to do it together, because I'm a, gay man, she's a straight woman. And then we always call ourselves the modern family. And because that is such a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I've really, like you said, I felt like that's something that I rarely see explored on the screen. And so for me, it was really important to tell a story that's not explanatory and doesn't, tell you how this is done or, how this came to be, but just rather shows it the way it is, as a given.
Yeah, and I feel like there was so much humanity to the way that you portrayed it, and I really appreciated that.
Oh, that's nice.
So there's a satirical thread of the film, I found at least, that involves the movie-going public's fascination with queerness, specifically like, the sex lives of queer celebrities, for example. Do you find yourself having to navigate the expectations of straight audiences when you're trying to make works with queer characters, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's something that I realized when I made my last film, because this is also a film about 2 men in a relationship. And I was a little bit surprised, I have to admit, and it sometimes could make me sad even, because people were they seemed to really love the film, but what I got a lot after the screenings was that people would come up to me, straight people, and would say, I was so moved by it and I felt so connected to it, even though it was, a gay couple, and I had a feeling of they're completely normal. They have the same problems like we have, and it got so. After a while, it became a bit tiring, because I was like, well, obviously, there's not that much a difference. So I think that's something, like I've always been very open about that. I've always been, openly gay in my professional life. So I never had to kind of deal with that. But this sort of, the surprise that people felt about the universality, what's the word?
Universality?
Yeah. Universality of it, yeah. That was a little bit surprising in itself.
This film is about a filmmaker, but I also felt like there was one scene that really felt like a love letter to theater. I won't spoil it, but it's a wonderful scene.
Yeah.
How was your experience as a stage performer, which you were, influenced your going into film and your filmmaking?
I think so. I think rather unconsciously, probably, I guess. But I do find myself being very interested in in the difference between what is being shown on screen and what is being hidden. And in theater, of course, there's this element of, like, a scene starts off stage sometimes, then the characters walk on stage and present something, they walk off, and you always have this feeling of life continuing, it goes on. Yeah. And I really love finding ways to incorporate that into a film, Like, I love the feeling of, it's kind of accidental where you enter a scene and where you leave it, you know. And also being an actor myself, I know how nice it is to be able to act out a scene for 8 minutes, you know, without anyone yelling cut and go back to this line, go back to that point in the scene. So that's something that and also my cast is really into.
So speaking of the actors in your film, this film has a wonderful ensemble, including a lot of people who were in your previous film, Bones and Names.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind bringing a lot of people back to, like, it sort of almost feels like theater too, like an ensemble?
It's true, it's like an ensemble. Yeah, it's like a troupe in a way. Yeah, I guess that, I mean, first of all, they're really great actors and actresses. I really love their work. Some of them are really quite known in Germany also. And I've always dreamt of this, you know, image of having a group, a troupe, an ensemble of actors and actresses who are coming together and, you know, exchanging roles. Sometimes they have bigger roles, sometimes smaller, you know, and I love writing with people in mind, you know. So I think 90% of the parts I had written with those actors and actresses in mind already. And that really inspires me because I know their rhythm, I know the way they act and the way they talk. And it's super interesting to then give them something to do that they've never done before on screen.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I also noticed that this movie has dialogue in German, English, Swedish, Italian, and it's also kind of a film about communication and miscommunication. So was it intentional for you to sort of have all these languages in there?
Yeah. No, language is a big thing for me because I grew up in Germany, then I went to New York to study acting, then I went back to Germany, so I've worked a lot in both German and English, and I've always been very drawn to French cinema since I was a teenager, so I really studied French a lot, you know, until I was fluent, so that's also a big thing for me. And I love that cinema, you know, offers us the opportunity to, you know, just branch out and you can be whatever you want. And, you know, it's never really explained, but then someone pops up and talks Swedish and then you have to find a way to communicate, so that's English. So, and I love picking actors and actresses who just, because I remember someone would say, but my Italian is not that good. And I said, well, but I find that interesting, you know, I don't want to see people being perfect. That's not so interesting to me. Like here, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to navigate my English because it's rusty, but I mean, it's human, so maybe it's nice.
I mean, I'm jealous of someone who can truly only speak one language and sometimes not even as effectively as you're speaking English as a second language right now. So this film's called Sad Jokes, and you know, there's a couple sad jokes that are being told in the film. It's literally, what's your favorite sad joke?
I think my favorite is the short one that my nephew says. It's actually my nephew, my mom, my brother. It's all these people in the beginning. My favorite one is the one with the coffee. What do you call a sad coffee?
Depresso.
Depresso. I kind of like that.
You know,
it's short and sweet.
You should get it sort of on T-shirts with the Sabrina Carpenter espresso.
It's true. Yeah.
There's an opportunity for marketing here. Yeah.
Hi, Sabrina. No, that would be cool. Yeah.
Well, I wish you so much luck with this film.
Thank you
it's
so
fantastic,
much,
and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a treat.
3, 2, 1.